So who was it that wanted Prince-Kameka out? Who was it that told her not to bother to reapply? That is the question we would like answered, because there appears to be something fishy going on here. Assuming always that Cliff Hughes got it right this time. Yes, the post of the corruption prosecution director has been advertised. This is what is being reported by Ricardo Brooks on the 9th of April 2025. Prince-Kameka out as Director of Corruption Prosecution at Integrity Commission. This sounds very, very interesting indeed, and we will surely be taking a closer look. But in the meanwhile, let me welcome you all to Jamaica 411. Please, everyone, give the video a thumbs up from now on. Please go ahead, give the video a thumbs up. Share, and if you have not yet done so, please go ahead and subscribe. And feel free to leave your comments in the comments section. To my subscribers, welcome back. And you know, I always look forward to reading your comments. So you know the ropes. And you, of course, will always leave your comments. Yes, we're talking about Andal and Joan and Joni and Electro, and also Elijah, Maxine, Sandra. I'm going to get everybody, you know, so if I don't catch you this time, I'll catch you next time. Yes. So, once again, I thank you all for the support you've been giving the channel, for sharing the video and getting the message out. That is very important that we do so as the 411 family. Yes. And I also thank you for liking the video as well and subscribing. So now that we've gotten the preliminaries out of the way, let's get down to business. Now, the one individual that we have been saying here that should retain their position at the Integrity Commission is Keisha Prince-Kameka. And we're not saying that because of the fact that she was the one who did not choose to prosecute Andrew Holness when Kevon Stevenson, the director of investigation, recommended that he should be prosecuted twice. No, it was the reasons that she gave. She didn't simply say she's not going to prosecute. She went and she did her research. And it was on the basis of the approach that she took and the conclusion that she came to based upon her research and the reasons she gave why she will not prosecute is what it is that we believe here at Jamaica 411 was the correct approach. And I say this for the simple reason that it is the Prime Minister of the country you're talking about. It is not that the Prime Minister is entitled to special treatment, but the position that he holds is a very important position, not just for the country, but for the people and the image of the country, which can affect us immensely. And therefore, she needed to be cautious about the way in which she go about her prosecuting. In other words, she had to make sure that she got it right. And there is one more element. There is the matter now of the Integrity Commission itself. It is the body that is responsible for prosecuting corruption of parliamentarians and government workers, right? As well as those in the parish councils. They are responsible for that. And therefore, the confidence that people repose in this body is essential. One false move and that body could be destroyed and would have to be abandoned altogether. And don't believe that because the parliament put them in place, that the parliament cannot get rid of that body. because we put them there to make decisions about what is in the best interest of the country. And it's up to them to make that determination when they reach. And bearing in mind that there is really no real necessity for an integrity commission, the way in which it is formulated now. Remember, prior to this amalgamated commission, we had three bodies that were investigating corruption. It was just that people thought that it might be a good idea. Remember, no, it's a contention of ideas. That's what it is when we put things in place. We believe that this is better than what was there before, and persons thought that it might be a good idea to put the three commission in one rather than have three separate commissions investigating corruption. First of all, you have the Parliament Integrity of Members Act, which was passed July 26, 1973 by the Manley government. That act was supposed to investigate the parliamentarians. Then in 1983, the Siaga government passed the Contractor General Act. And again in 2001, the PJ Patterson government passed the Corruption Prevention Act. Now, the Contractor General Act was put in place to investigate the issuance of government contract. And the Corruption Prevention Act was implemented to investigate civil servants. So you have the first act, which was to investigate the parliamentarians, the Parliament Integrity of Members Act, and then you have an issue. You see, these acts were only introduced when we have problems. And so when we had the problems with the issuing of contract, the Contractor General Act was put in place and a commission was set up in order to manage that act. And then civil service, we had a lot of corruption. So the Corruption Prevention Act was put in place by PJ in 2001, and it had a commission as well to manage the cases of corruption that would come up from time to time. They all were required to submit to those three commissions: the parliamentarians, the civil servants, the persons who work with the parish councils. They were all required to submit statutory declarations in the same manner as they are now to the Integrity Commission. So the three commissions were there, and they got the bright idea that maybe what we need to do is to bring them all together under one umbrella with a prosecutor. The prosecutor being separate from the investigator, because under our normal system, you have the police that will do the investigations, and when they create files, they make arrests if they believe they have a case and evidence against someone, but that will be handed over now to the DPP to make a ruling. Once the DPP determines that there is enough evidence, then she will mount a prosecution. That is how it works in the wider Jamaica. That's the system that we have. Well, the Integrity Commission Act envisioned the same thing under a single roof, but dealing only with corruption. So you have the investigator, who will be like the police, and when the investigator believes that he has sufficient evidence, he hands over the file to the prosecutor, as the police will hand over the file to the DPP. And just as the DPP examine the evidence and determine whether or not she can win her case, and whether or not, therefore, she should carry the matter before the court, the Director of Corruption Prosecution does the very same thing. You follow? Yes. So that is the system that we now have in terms of the Integrity Commission Act. But don't believe that it cannot be repealed. It can be. But since we put it in place already, it would be advisable not to. And therefore, it's essential that those persons who are given the responsibility to carry out the functions of the Integrity Commission Act, that they do so efficiently, effectively, with integrity, and they have to be mindful also of the reputation of the people that whose lives will be affected. So the Integrity Commission did their job. The investigator did his investigation, and he came to a conclusion that the Prime Minister should be prosecuted, first of all, for a conflict of interest. They believe that he had somehow given contracts in his constituency to a company that was owned by his friend. Problem was that the company existed before he became minister, and even the PNP government and other agencies in the government was doing business with these people. So when Andrew Holness went and gave them a contract, because he knew the people and apparently never go through all the process, as was the case even with the others, the contract that they received from the other agencies under both PNP and JLP, they didn't go through proper process either. I do believe they all were cited for one form of corruption or another. When it went to Kameka and she looked at the evidence as well as the responses that Holness gave, she came to the conclusion that she could not mount a viable prosecution. Now, in those circumstances, she could have gone ahead and said, I'm going to test it before the court. But if she had gone ahead and lost, what would that do for the integrity of the commission? Remember, this is the Prime Minister, right? The second time around was when they found that he did not declare two accounts that he had. It never went to prosecution. The investigator decided that based upon the explanation that Holness gave and the fact that these two accounts were dormant, in other words, he wasn't putting money in, no money not going in. Once he opened the account, he never did anything with it, working out of other accounts. And being that they accepted, that is a investigator, Holness's explanation, he decided, okay, I am not going to bother to prosecute. However, this is where they went wrong. The law requires that if you are investigating someone, and remember it reached a stage where they were questioning him now under what they call the judge's rule, meaning to say they read him his rights. So he knew that he was being investigated. And when they decided not to go ahead with the investigation, the investigator informed the commissioners that he's not going to recommend prosecution. He believes it was inadvertent that the Prime Minister did not declare those two accounts. No harm done. The Prime Minister has corrected it, and he has closed the accounts in a way in which he should have. The thing was, he was supposed to have asked the Prime Minister whether or not he wants him to be exonerated by sending the matter or the case to the file to the Parliament and issue a public exoneration. It is for the Prime Minister to say, no man, it's all right, everything good, right? Because nobody knew, so there's no reason why he would want it to come out to the public. But they didn't do that. And they did not issue an exoneration either, which is what is required by law. The third matter came up about a month or two after that one was closed. And it was the same thing. 4 accounts this time, they found his name on it, and he did not declare them. 2, they claim, was in his mother's name, and 1 for his father, and 1 for a constituent, that they were joint holders, right? And so the investigator questioned Holness and then recommended that he should be prosecuted. When the file got to Prince-Kameka, the Director of Corruption Prosecution, she discovered that the two accounts, his mother's two accounts that they claim he was a joint holder on and he did not declare it. It turned out that there was no evidence. The card with the signature was not readable, and furthermore, the statements only had his mother's name on it. Both statements. What was she supposed to do? Go to court with that and lose? So she dropped those. When it comes to now to his father's account, and the constituent, he gave an explanation, and she went and she did her research to see whether or not she could mount a viable prosecution, and found, based upon the arguments that was put forward in similar cases, that she could not win. Therefore, she recommended that he should not be prosecuted because, according to her, the investigator investigated, said he found evidence. Holness had given an explanation. It was for the investigator to find further proof that what he said was not true, right? And come up with counter evidence to prove it, and he did not. And so she decided not to prosecute. So I'm going to read now what it is that Cliff Hughes put out, because it appears to give some information as to what they are saying happened. That Prince-Kameka will no longer be the Director of Corruption Prosecution.
Responding to queries from Nationwide News, newly appointed chairman of the Integrity Commission, retired Justice Carol Lawrence Beswick, confirmed that Prince-Kameka's contract had come to an end. The chairman declined to say whether Prince-Kameka had reapplied for her post. Lawrence Beswick would only say the name of the successful candidate will be published once a decision has been made. Well-placed sources have indicated to Nationwide News that the now former Director of Corruption Prosecution had faced significant pressures from within the organization over prosecuting decisions she made during her tenure. It's understood she was specifically told not to reapply to the position. Prince-Kameka presided over the high-profile decision not to charge Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness following two recommendations from the Commission's Director of Investigations, Kevon Stevenson, that the head of the government be charged in two separate matters. On both occasions, Prince-Kameka declined to initiate prosecution proceedings, finding there was no case in law for Holness to answer. Those decisions reportedly earned her the ire of certain officials within the anti-corruption body. Prince-Kameka was appointed to her post in March 2020. The Director of Corruption Prosecution is one of the statutory directors established under the Integrity Commission Act. Subject to the powers of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Commission's Director of Corruption Prosecution makes determinations as to whether to bring a case against any person implicated in corruption by the body's Director of Investigations. Prince's exit comes on the heels of the departure of the Commission's former chairman, retired Justice Seymour Panton. Commissioner Eric Crawford also recently left the body. Governor General Sir Patrick Allen recently appointed retired Justice Carol Lawrence Beswick and former Governor of the Bank of Jamaica Brian Winter to replace them. Lawrence Beswick has also been appointed the Commission's new chairman. At least two other statutory directors will see their contracts come to an end in the coming months. When contacted, Nationwide News was informed by the Commission that Ranif Lawrence is currently acting in the position of Director of Corruption Prosecution. No information was provided as to the fate of Mrs. Prince-Kameka. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
So what have we learned from this Nationwide report? First, they said that her departure, Prince-Kameka, was confirmed. That's the first thing. Then they said that the post was publicly advertised by the commission. Now, just so you know, the law, when it comes to the Integrity Commission Act, the commissioners are appointed by the Governor General, and then they hire the other persons that work in the commission. When it comes to the directors, they hire the directors, the Director of Corruption Prosecution, Director of Investigation, the Director of Information and Complaints, and other, I think there's another director and the other people. So they are the ones who hire those directors, but it is the Governor General who appoints them. You follow the process? So when it comes to the commissioners, two of them were already replaced, Panton and the chartered accountant Eric Crawford. They were replaced by the Governor General. The new chairperson is the judge, High Court Judge Carol Lawrence Beswick. And Eric Crawford was replaced by the former governor of the Bank of Jamaica, Brian Winter. So those two were replaced. Now you have Justice Hibbert, whose appointment was October 30 in 2019. So it's next year, October, that his 7-year term expires. And then you have H. Wayne Powell, is another accountant, and his term started late March, I said 2020. I can't seem to find what date. So his tenure would expire in another 2 years. So he has 2 more years to go. So that is that. So when it comes to the employment of Prince-Kameka, that is strictly the purview of the 5 commissioners, right? And Nationwide is reporting that she was told that she should not reapply for the position. Now, the thing that I would like to know, and I'm sure you'd like to know as well, is who could have said that to her, right? Now, I don't know if I want to believe that, and let me tell you why. She was first appointed to the position on March 24, 2020, and their tenure is for a 5-year period. So the commissioners are there for 7 years, the directors for 5 years. So her tenure would expire on the 24th of March. Now, this advertisement I found in the Sunday Gleaner of March 16, 2025. Remember, her tenure expires March 2024. So 8 days before her tenure expires, here they are at the Integrity Commission advertising her post. Let's read it. It says Integrity Commission Career Opportunities. It's under the career section of the Sunday Gleaner of March 16, 2025. It says the Integrity Commission invites eligible candidates to submit applications for the following positions: the Director of Corruption Prosecution, Director of Finance and Accounts, Manager Contracts Procurement and Corruption Investigations, Manager Declaration and Financial Investigations, Senior Prosecutor. Detailed information on these positions can be found on the Integrity Commission's website. Applications must be submitted no later than Friday, March 28, 2025. So this was put in on the 16th. That was 8 days before her tenure expires. And they said they want the applicants to respond the latest Friday, March 28. That is 12 days after the first advertisement that I could find. It's possible that they were advertising before. I didn't see any indication that they did. So, what is this telling us? It's telling me that it does not appear as though it was any intention of the IC that Kameka would not be renewed. Why would they wait so long to advertise? You follow what I'm saying? So if they said to her, if somebody had said to her, listen, do not reapply for this position, right? When I like where they're going with and how you handle it, maybe they felt that, let us say for argument's sake, that she wasn't, she may not have been succeeding. I'm sure that's not true. I do believe she was succeeding in many of her cases. Maybe they felt that they were she was not timely enough in handling her cases, and so on and so forth. Whatever the reason is, if they are going to wait until 8 days before her tenure is up, to me, it does not appear as though the Integrity Commission had any inkling that they were going to replace her. You follow what I'm saying? Secondly, who could have told her that she should not reapply? I imagine Justice Panton could have been the one who would have said so. He would have been quite cut up, I'm sure, about her decisions based upon his behavior in 2023. He gave no inkling or any indication that he would be. And he's a professional man. So I can't imagine that he would have found any cause to be critical, especially in circumstances where she gave her reasons as to why she shouldn't prosecute. Now, so he left by February 25. He could have said so to her before, perhaps. Maybe the other commissioners could have said so. Very possible that when Carol Beswick assumed the position, she examined her performance, and she may have come to the conclusion that maybe we need somebody else, and would have said to her, nobody reapply, right? But that is even a little odd, because Carol Beswick assumed the position February 26, 2025. So that's February 26. And she would certainly have taken a long time to be telling the director that she should not reapply. You're talking about 18 days after she assumed the position as chairman of the Integrity Commission that the advertisement was placed in the paper. So if she was told not to reapply, it may not have been by Beswick. It may have been one of the persons who were there before. Now, who would be in a position to be able to do so? Who in the Integrity Commission would have the authority to approach the Director of Corruption Prosecution to tell her that she should not reapply because they will not consider her application? And the next question, a very big question, is do they even have the legal authority not to reappoint her if she seeks to be reappointed? Those are the questions that must be answered. And I think I can speak on your behalf. I hope I can, in saying that we need answers to those questions. Yes. Anyway, let me leave it here for now. Until next time, I want to thank you for joining me, for sharing, liking, subscribing, and leaving your comments in the comments section. So goodbye for now, and walk good.